friends, and welcome to Faye Reads, where we talk about things that make the mundane more magical, namely books. So today we are talking about books, but we're also talking about another one of my favorite things, something that also makes the mundane more magical, and that is makeup. We're doing the books and makeup tag. So I am a wearer of makeup. No shade, no judgment to anyone who does not wear makeup, but I find creative expression in it, and unfortunately I do feel compelled by, beauty standards and societal expectations to do so. I feel like it makes me look more refreshed. I'm kind of a sickly looking person naturally, as you can tell. And when I wear a bit of makeup, it gets people off of my back asking me if I'm feeling okay, if I got no sleep, things like that. So that's my stance on makeup. Thanks for listening to my high school debate. But yeah, luckily this tag already existed, and it's an easy way for me to incorporate two things that I enjoy on this channel. And I'll be honest, this is my third time to film this, and really probably technically my fourth time, because I did a test round when I was just playing around to see what it was like filming yourself doing makeup, and it has been a challenge. I have my door open right now, and the cats are gonna probably be in or out. I remember that was an issue last time, but Hal has just snuggled down into his cat bed, and I don't have the heart to make him leave, so I'm gonna attempt to do this with them free range. But yes, does anybody care about any of that? Probably not. So if you aren't familiar with the tag, basically it's just a bunch of questions with prompts that are related to different makeup items, and each question has to do with the book or with a type of book, and the question is inspired by the makeup item and the purpose that it serves. So perhaps if you're not a makeup wearer, this will also be educational for you. So the order of the tag is going to be a little bit different for me because I apply my makeup in a different way than this tag was laid out. So I may be jumping around a bit, so you may have to bear with me on that. Also, I'm answering these questions based on questions I answered a long time ago. Like, I filmed this at the end of summer, I think was the last, so it's been at least 3 or 4 months. Well, maybe not that long, but it's been a while since I last filmed this, and so I'm kind of going off of old answers and trying to remember why I said these things. But we're just gonna try and see how it goes. Oh, I see a monarch butterfly out the window. I would pause to film it, but I can't be bothered. That's just gonna be a miracle for me. Also, I've got a mirror underneath the camera, so if I keep looking down, that's why. Because it's a lot easier for me to see what's actually on my face in the mirror than on the camera. This is probably not the best lighting setup, but this is what I've got, baby. So we're working with what we got. Before I get started, I'll also admit I'm not completely barefaced right now. I do have some makeup on. It's like 2:30 in the afternoon, and it's Thanksgiving break actually, and I'm off all week, and so I'm trying to pre-film, or I'm trying to film as much as I can, I guess, while I'm off, and I have all the energy to do so. So I did run errands this morning, and I put a little bit of concealer on. I've got just concealer, and I have some brow product. That's basically all I've got today. And I threw this headband on because I got little baby hairs up here that want to stick up, and they won't cooperate. So this is, my hair's probably a bit messed because I also had a nap. So she's a little messy. It's a messy bun. It's in the name, okay? And then there's this guy, but it's fine, it's fine. The first step is primer, and like I said, I've already got some product on my face, but I was too lazy to wash it off because then I'd also have to wash off my skincare because I've got sunscreen on and moisturizer, and I didn't want to like reapply everything. It seemed wasteful. So one, I'm lazy, and I'm also cheap. So here we go. I don't typically wear a primer, but I will just for the sake of this video, and I'm actually not putting on an actual makeup product that is designed as primer. I'm doing a skincare product that a lot of people actually use as primer according to the internet, but it's the Paula's Choice 2% BHA gel exfoliant. So this is really an exfoliator or exfoliant, but it does leave the skin really shiny and kind of sticky, which can be a good base for makeup. So that is what we are doing instead of makeup primer. So the question is a book that left a lasting impression on you. So if you were to ask me at the young age of 17 or 16 who my favorite author was, I probably would have told you Libba Bray, because about that time, and it was probably when I was 15 or 16, I read her trilogy, which is the Gemma Doyle series, which started with A Great and Terrible Beauty. And that book just like blew me away. I never read writing that was so lush and evocative, but it was also so compelling and exciting. It had romance, it had magic, it had like everything I wanted in a book at that time. And I just remember being so impressed by it and thinking, this is exactly the kind of book I wish I could write. And while we're on the primer stage, I'm going to put on eyeshadow primer. This is the Milani. This is what beauty gurus do. The Milani eyeshadow primer. So, talking about the Gemma Doyle trilogy, of course, one of the main like selling points for those books for me were the romance, because of the age I was at the time. And honestly, I'm still that way. I still really like a good love story in a book. But I know a lot of people were really upset by the ending, particularly in the relationship and what happens to those characters. But I thought it was very fitting. It was sort of poetic. It was tragic, but also like, I don't know. I can't find myself, I can't really be that mad about it. So now I'm going to skip down to the fourth question in the tag, which is the powder step, because I don't really put on powder, and I only really do it to set my eyeshadow primer. So I'm going to do that right now. But the question for powder is, what is your favorite last book in a series? And for that, I'm going to say The Book of Life, which is the last book in the All Souls trilogy by Deborah Harkness. So I really like the All Souls trilogy. People always want to call it like the grown-up Twilight meets Harry Potter. That kind of, you know, people are always using buzzwords like that. But it is a very like, it is kind of like Twilight. It had all the elements of Twilight that I enjoyed as a teenager, but it is more grown up, very much more academic, or at least it feels academic. And I don't know, it just, you know, in a lot of trilogies, sometimes you get let down by the ending, but I just remember reading the last book, and it's been a while. It's probably been at least 5 years now, but I remember being very satisfied, which is rare. So I'm going to say that for my final answer. So next, we're going to move on to eyeshadow, because I like to do my eye makeup before I do my face makeup. And so that is number 6 in the tag. And the question for eyeshadow is, what is a book with your favorite colors on the cover? So I try to choose from books that I actually own. And you may recognize this book because can't talk. You may recognize this book because I have it on display in my bookshelf where I'm filming normally. And that is Stonefield, a novel by Kathy, what's her name? Nope. By Christy Lindsay. And as you can tell, it's just gorgeous. I just really like this cover. That's why I have her on display for the world to see. But I like a lot of purples and greens. Those are probably some of my favorite colors. So like the background is this like nice lilac color, and then we've got darker purple in her hair flowing in the wind. And then we've got some sunset colors, some purpley, or no, pinky orange, like gradient going on. And there's kind of some mossy green at the bottom. So I love this as a cover. I'm going to attempt to do an eyeshadow look inspired by this. So I'm gonna have to kind of go through the colors that I have in my collection and sort of make a game plan here. So give me a moment for that. Okay, so I think I have a game plan. So I'm going to, I'm getting distracted. I really wish I could just record in my mirror that I have set up because I look great in this mirror. I keep looking, I'm like, dang, is she cute? But then I look up here in my camera screen and, ooh, she not so cute. But don't you wish you could just like record yourself in the mirror? Like, this is something that always bothers me. Your mirror image is not like your actual image. And so I actually like the way I look in the mirror, but then I go and I look in pictures and she's not the same girl. She's not the same. And it bothers me. Like in school, you know, you get ready for picture day, you're looking in the bathroom mirror, you're like, dang, I look good. And then you go to school and you take those pictures and you get them like months later and you're like, who let this corpse walk into the building? Like, anyways, these are my struggles in life and in picture taking. So this is where the beauty guru comes in. I'm using the Sleeping Beauty palette by, who are you by? By, oh my gosh. It's like a Latina brand. I can't remember their name off the top of my head. Besame, there we go. Besame. Besame Cosmetics, and the shade number 89349. Which is a like lavendery color. I'm not sure. I guess I'm just gonna go here because I can see pretty good in my mirror. So it's clearer in my mirror, so that's why I'm looking down. I don't know how the beauty gurus do it logistically. Like filming yourself is kind of hard. See, I can't even tell looking up. I'm sure this is riveting to watch, but I'm trying to concentrate here. That's another thing. I don't know how the beauty gurus can just talk, and chat away and do their little stories while they're doing their makeup. Well, I feel like my shape has already gotten a bit off, but it's not too bad. This one's going higher and more rounded than this one. I really actually like this one. Did that help at all? Maybe. Okay, and now I'm going to use a shade from the ColourPop Lilac You A Lot palette in the shade Zoned Out, and I'm going to just use my finger and apply it on the lid. See, when I look up, because of the shadows, it looks like I've just gotten punched in the eye. Markle has discovered the little tassels on the blinds. He may be getting kicked out soon. I need a tissue. See, I just looked in the bathroom mirror and I look great. And much. So I'm liking this okay, but I want more pink elements. But I think we're gonna deepen out the outer third. So I'm going to go in to a very old BH Cosmetics Zodiac palette. And I'm going to use the kind of middle purple shade. It is not numbered, so I don't know what else to call it. But it's the one above Cancer. It's the matte that goes with Cancer. So, and I'm going to use a tiny little Eco Tools brush. I like it because of how small it is. And we're going to try to go in the outer third here. Do I like that? I think I do. Okay, you can tell I went down too low, but that's fine. We can clean it up. Do I need to blend maybe? Blend it into the lavender crease color a little better. Do that really quick. I think that'll do. But we still have a lot of purple going on. So I'm going to try to get a little bit more pink by going in with the Hasina 2 palette by Blush Tribe. And I'm going to take the shade Destiny, which is kind of a pinkier purple shimmer. So let's try that in the middle. Okay. Now I'm going to go back into the Zodiac palette and I'm going to use the pink, the matte pink above Virgo. I'm going to try to come in right here. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, I forgot I have a mirror here. So I like that. I like what adding the matte pink did, but I feel like I lost a bit of the shimmer. So I may try to go back in and put a little bit of the shimmer on top. I don't know if that did anything. This video is gonna be so long to edit. Yay, future me. You're welcome. This is a gift to you for my inner corner area. We're gonna go in the Jane Eyre Charlotte Bronte palette by Storybook Cosmetics, which is one of my favorite books of all time. We're going to put the pink shade called Jane. In the inner corner. This I like. Okay. For brow bone highlight. We're still in the eyeshadow stage, people. I just like to play around in the eyeshadow department for a bit. I'm going to take NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in Milk and rub that end under my brow. Is this it? This may be it in terms of eyeshadow. Should pluck my brows. Well, okay, we're gonna move on to eyeliner. The prompt for eyeliner is a dark and mysterious book. So for eyeliner, I'm using the Revolution liner for Makeup Revolution. I think that's all it's called. It's the one that looks like this. I'm gonna attempt to do this on camera, but it's gonna be a little hard to watch. But let's see. I'm too nervous. You know what? I'm gonna do my eyeliner in the bathroom and come back. All right, so I'm back with a thin black line for my eyeliner, and I also tried to clean up some of the eyeshadow that had gotten down too low. For my dark and mysterious book, I'm going to say In the Woods by Tana French. This is a true crime, well no it's not. It's a crime drama, like sort of mystery series set in Dublin. The series is actually called the Dublin Murder Squad series, I think. But in the Woods, it's about a detective on the Dublin Murder Squad, on their murder investigation team, who has to work this case that's very similar to a case that happened in the 80s around Dublin, or in a suburb or a city nearby Dublin, in which a little boy was found in the woods all by himself. He was with two of his young friends who disappeared and were never seen from again, but they find the boy all alone, and he's got like blood in his shoes, and he's just like scraping at a tree, and like no one knows what happened to him. He had no memory of what happened to him. And it turns out that little boy is our detective, our main character. And he has to work this case, which is seemingly parallel to what happened to him as a child. But no one knows that he is that very same little boy that was found in the woods. So it's very intriguing. And I really like this book. It is dark. It is mysterious. The protagonist turns out to be a little bit disappointing as a character, but I still really enjoyed the read. It's very moody. It's good for this time of the year in the, late fall, winter stage. And I recommend it if you've never tried it. I've also read the second one and enjoyed it. I know there's many more. It's a fairly long series, but I don't know if I'm going to continue because it's dealing with different characters, and I'm not sure if I like the character that's featured in the third book or not. So if you've read the third book, let me know if I should try it. I also am going to mention a actually very dark book, which is I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. What's her name? Isn't that her name? I can't read my own handwriting. But anyway, I'm sure everyone's heard of that. It's an actual true crime book about the Golden State Killer and Michelle's investigation of who the killer was. And it was actually her research that led to, or was very instrumental in the capturing of the Golden State Killer, which happened very recently, but unfortunately she passed away before it happened. But I don't know, it's just a really cool story in terms of like seeing justice being solved. But the book itself, like talking about the actual events, is pretty dark. Like I remember when I was reading it, I'd have to leave for work in the morning when it was still dark, and I would always be like super scared because it's a real thing. People do get murdered for no reason, and that's pretty dark and scary. And before I move on, I think I'm gonna try to be bold and do this Glam Vice Retro Liner in the shade, what are you, Pink Velvet. I may try to do that on my waterline. This may be the point of no return, but I'm feeling bold and I think it could look really cool. I may be messing it up here, but we're gonna try it. But I'm gonna need to wet this, so you may have to give me a little bit. I may have to do this off camera, so BRB. All right, she is back, baby. So yeah, I went in with the pink velvet retro liner and lined my waterline, and I kind of drug it out to the end of my little flick, and that was kind of an accident, and it ended up being a happy accident because I think I like it. So we're rolling with it. So I think we're finally done with eyeliner now. So we can move on to mascara. This is question number 8 in the tag. And it is, what is a long book? Or something like that. Something about long book. I use shorthand in my notes. So the longest book I've read this year is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. It's at a whopping like 800 something pages. And I binge read it because it was a library loan. And, I was getting up close to the time where my loan was running out. I'm gonna have to pick up my mirror to use this because I gotta get in close when I do my eyeliner. It's a very, very long book, but it's very good. It was very bingeable. And honestly, it may be one of my favorite books from the year, if I'm honest. I'm still thinking about it. I'm still kind of reflecting on that because it is that time of year, right? When you're looking back on the year. But it's a really good one. I feel like everyone talks about Crescent City. It's super popular and for good reason. But I also want to mention the longest book that I read in 2019, which is The Witches of New York, or maybe it's just Witches of New York, but it's by Amy McKay, and it's like set in 1920s, I believe, New York, and it has to do with witches. It actually reminds me a lot of the Diviners series by Libba Bray. So that is a YA story that's very similar. It's set in the 20s in New York, and there's magic, and it's like a supernatural. It's kind of dark. It's kind of got some horror elements, but you know, I can handle it. Baby me can handle it. So it's not too scary, but it's a lot of fun. So if you like the Diviners and you want something that's a little bit more grown up and a standalone novel, I recommend The Witches of New York. Because I do believe The Witches of New York was adult and the Diviners is definitely YA. Does anyone else want to say the Diviners? Like divination? I was always trying to call it diviners. Maybe it's just me being Southern and, you know, not wanting to pronounce words right. Pronunciation is just a suggestion. It's a suggestion, okay? But yeah, Diviners is good. The Witches of New York is also very good. Those are two very good long books. I really like this liner when I look in the mirror. It's not like popping in my monitor or my camera view, but like, dang, bang. Okay. It makes me think of that song. Do y'all remember that song from that one British band? I forgot what they're called. They're a lot bigger in the UK than in the US. But the fire you ignited, good, bad, and undecided, burns while I stand inside it. Your light is ultraviolet. That's what my eyes are telling me right now. It's like ultraviolet. Ultraviolet. It's ultraviolet lit today. Okay. I'm starting to lose it. Now we finally get to do face stuff. So yeah, we're going to go to concealer, which I already have some on, like I said. I may just touch up a little bit here and there. So the under eye concealer I like to use is the IT Bye Bye Under Eye Concealer, mostly because it's expensive and I need to get my money's worth and use it up. But also, the formula in this creases a lot on me, so I'm not sure if I really recommend it, but I like the finish that it gives, and I do like how brightening it is, but like I said, it almost always creases on me. So I have a very distinct way of applying it too. I have to use a very tiny bit, and that helps with the creasing. I moved my mirror and now okay. Now I can see. Yeah. We'll see how this does since I'm kind of applying over product that's already there, but it has worn off a bit, to be fair. So maybe it won't be too bad. I use a technique that, who is it? I always want to call him Roberta Blake, but Roberta Blake is a different guy. Robert Welsh, the makeup twin, right? There's James and Robert. I think Robert's the makeup one, but he kind of taught me, you know, not personally, but I learned this in one of his videos. He came to my house and he was like, girl, this is how you do your concealer. Except he's British, so he's like, go. This is how you do your concealer. Okay, what am I supposed to be talking about? A book. Nope, that's the wrong one. Characters you wish you didn't exist. Whew. I kind of have a hot take here, so everybody hold on to your pants. Hold on to the seat of your pants. I think that's the expression. Just hold on to your pants. So I have a character. Both of these characters, I have two characters to mention, and honestly, both of these characters, if they went away, the whole series would have to go away. So they really can't go away, because if they went away, the story wouldn't exist. But I still don't really care for these characters. And the first one is Harry Potter. I said it. Not a big fan of Harry Potter. I like the series, and I mean, okay, I've had these opinions like long since the controversies in recent times, but I just never really liked Harry that much. I like the series. I love the world of Harry Potter and just like being part of the Harry Potter generation. Like, we all grew up reading the books and everything, but he's just not the best character in the series, like, by far. Like, there are far more interesting characters in that world, and I just hated that we had to care so much about Harry. He's kind of a brat. I mean, I know he had a hard life, blah, 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 but especially in, you know, Order of the Phoenix, that's the roughest book for me. He just whines the whole time, but I know that's a hot take. I know. I may get some hate for that, my first hate on YouTube or BookTube, but I'll be honest, yeah, I could do without Harry Potter. Like, spoiler alert, if you haven't read the end of Harry Potter by now, I'm gonna spoil it for you. Sorry, skip ahead. But when it's looking like he's going to die, I got so excited, because I honestly thought it would have been fitting. I would have been okay if he stayed dead, but no, he had to go and come back. I don't know if it was supposed to be like Christus Victor, like, you know, like a symbolism for Christ coming back to life or whatever, but like, I don't know, man. I just felt like it would have been more powerful of a message if he'd stayed dead. Like, it's okay to like die for the cause. I don't know. But yeah, that's fine. I guess kids would have cried or something. I don't know. But the other character that I'll mention while I do the rest of my face concealer. So So at this time I'm using, yeah, I know I use two separate concealers, but this is the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer in the shade Fair Rose. Okay, these shade names, I don't know if I'm a Fair Rose, but I can see my pigmentation better when I look down in this mirror. Maybe do a little bit here. My main concealing issue is hyperpigmentation from struggling with acne for a long time. That's probably another video altogether. So, but the character I would also like to conceal out of existence is Joe from You, which, again, I wrote these answers over the summer. So, and I read You like last year, like in 2019, I think, maybe even 2018. So it's been a while since I actually read the book, but he's just like an awful person. I know he's supposed to be, that's the whole point. But like, and I think I'm not really annoyed by the book because I read the book and it was fine. And then it got made into the Netflix adaptation, you know? And that's cool. I like to see books get made into films or whatever. But I never watched the adaptation, and it's the contrarian in me because it got really popular and I saw a bunch of people on Facebook talking about it. There's also this like idolization on the internet of like girls talking about how hot he is and how like I think some of it is jokingly and some of it is kind of like making fun of other girls who are actually idolizing him, but like I could do without that. I could just do without the whole thing. And I found the book, I do have some issues with the book. I found the ending to be frustrating, but I think a lot of that was because I was expecting it to be a standalone, and there is a sequel, which I haven't read and I kind of refuse to at this point. And I know there's more than one season on Netflix. I know there's at least 2, maybe more. But yeah, I could just do without him. That's not very nice of me, but you know what? The question isn't very nice, so I'm just adapting to the expectation of the prompt, okay? Okay, now we go on to foundation. Where's my foundation? Did I not bring it? Come again. Why am I such a mess? Oh my God. Okay, got my foundation. Also, I realized I haven't done my lower lash line, and that is intentional. Well, with mascara anyway. I haven't applied mascara down there because I normally don't, because I just like to do all my under eye makeup and my foundation before I do that, so that's why. Okay, for foundation, I'm using the Pacifica Elite foundation because I like the finish it gives me, and it's also pretty cheap. What shade am I? I'm Neutral Fair 40 NF, baby. And I'm using a brush from Real Techniques, which I don't really recommend. I like the shape of it and that it's like flat, but it sheds like a mofo, if you can tell. I always have to like preemptively pick out hairs that are already sticking up so that they don't come off on my face. And then I still end up with them on my face when I apply my product. So you're probably thinking, well, why don't you just get a different foundation brush? Good question. Okay. I'm using my wrist like a little palette because it's God's palette, and I dot. I use the dotting technique. Pew, 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 pew. Sound effects are needed, yes. This is very integral to the process here. Y'all, I'm really liking this waterline situation. That's the best decision I've ever made in my life. And you're done. It's a leprosy look. It's really hot right now. Okay. The question is the favorite first book in a series. Now, I'm going to say a book that is one of my favorite books of all time that I think I've mentioned before in previous videos. But that is Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Marillier. And it is a retelling of the fairy tale, The Seven Swans. I think I want to say like Seven Sons of Seven Daughters or whatever that old-timey musical is, but that's definitely not it. It's like seven brothers, seven swans, something like that. But it's the one where there's 7 brothers and they get turned into swans, and she, the sister, has to break the curse by enduring a bunch of trials. So she has to be silent the whole time until they're transformed back into human form. So she has to take like a vow of silence. And also she has to knit sweaters for them out of stinging nettles. And so this is just a retelling of that story, but it's set in ancient Ireland. I'm not that great with Irish history. I was started to say medieval, but I think it's even before medieval times. But it's like involving a lot of Celtic Irish folklore. And it's just like, it's indescribable. You just have to read it. It's so magical. It has the most precious, sweetest love story that still like just like makes my heart kind of, what's the word? Patter? That's not it. Flutter. I get little heart flutterings just thinking about it. And so, yeah, it is part of a series. I think the series is called the Seven Waters series. And they are good. I've read the second one, the third one. I think there's just 3. I don't know. There may be more. But the first one is actually the best. So if you were to stop at book 1, I think you'd be fine. In my opinion, it is the best one. So that is why it is my book for foundation. Let me see. See? What I tell you. So then here's my unnecessary step, going in with the beauty blender. Well, it's obviously not a beauty blender. It's a sponge. It's just a makeup sponge. This is a Sonia Kashuk one, I think, from Target. And I do this in case there's any lines that the brush has left. And also when I have to pick up my brush hairs, sometimes I end up taking off foundation in that process. So I have to kind of come back in. So again, I look so pale. I guess it's just the lighting. I look so pale in the camera. I'm so pale. I'm having too much fun. Eyebrows. Eyebrows is next. The plot for eyebrows, or the prompt for eyebrows is a book that everyone should read. Which, what does that have to do with eyebrows? I don't know. Everyone should have eyebrows? I don't know. Everyone should do their eyebrows? That's kind of judgmental. But I already said before, I do have some product in my brows already that I put on when I was running errands. But I'll just touch it up a little bit. I'm using the CoverGirl eyebrow pencil, ultra fine brow pencil, the shade Rich Brown. So the book everyone should read, in my humble opinion, is Stardust by Neil Gaiman. I just like Neil Gaiman a lot. He's a great author. I think the first thing I read by him was Coraline, which is a great children's novel. It is a little bit scary, a little bit disturbing, but it's wonderful. It's a wonderful little book. But Stardust is amazing. It is a fantasy story about a boy who lives in this town called Wall, where there's like literally a wall to like a different world, and he goes and he crosses over to the other world, and he just goes on this magical adventure. And there's a romance. It's got action, it's an adventure, it's got a little bit for everybody. Like, it's a lot like, it reminds me of The Princess Bride. I know that's gonna probably be a controversial comparison. I'm not equating them, but it just has a lot of similar elements, in my opinion, that it's a fantasy story. And like I said, it's fun for the whole family. It's got a little bit for everybody. It's just like a wholesome little story. And yes, I am talking about the book, but I also love the film adaptation. One of my favorite movies. There's the lid. I'm looking for the lid. Found it. It's on Netflix, or it has been for a long time. Maybe they have deleted it since then, but it's just great. If you've never watched the movie, you should still read the book. I do recommend the book, but it's an excellent, excellent movie as well. And the movie stars my husband, Henry Cavill, a very young Henry Cavill, and he's kind of the bad guy, but like, and he kind of, you know, gets rejected in the film, but that's okay, baby, because me and Henry are together. This is actually a boyfriend reveal. I'm dating Henry Cavill. I'm dating, excuse me, we're married. We've been married for a long time. I think my brows are done, right? I think that's sufficient. It's sufficient for me. Okay, now we're moving on to blush. So for blush, I'm using Milani blush. I stan this blush. It's my favorite blush of all time. I just think it looks really good on me. Really flattering in shade and also just like finish. And it's the shade Luminoso. That's the name of the color. I'm using a Real Techniques blush. This is from the same line as the other one, but I actually like this one. This one does not shed on me. It's like the Blush Brush 302. And the question is, or the prompt is, a book with a cringe-worthy romance. So I'm going to say Rhapsodic by Laura Talassa. This is maybe a deep cut here, but this is something I read like on Kindle. It's probably, I think it's a Kindle Unlimited book. And it's a YA, I believe. And it's like fae. I can't remember if he's fae or if he's like a demon. I don't know, but like some demon creatures like pursuing this teenage girl, and I don't remember that like actual plot of it all, but it's like essentially a romance novel, right? But like a YA romance. But it just was really, really bad for me, which it's weird because I have read Pestilence by Laura Talassa, which I mentioned before, and I really like that. And that's why I read this book, was to read more of her work. But just the dialogue was awkward and it just felt so weird. And it just was not my cup of tea at all. And it just like, especially for a romance, well, I can be, you know, somewhat giving with cheesiness in a romance if there's a little bit here and there, but it wasn't beyond cheesy. It was just awkward to read for me. So that's why it's a book with a romance that made me cringe. Now it's time for highlighter. So the prompt for highlighter is a book that brightens your day. And I'm just going to mention an entire series here because it's my favorite series. And that is the October Days series by Shawnee McGuire. I seem to like want to mention it in every single tag video because I love it and it's a great series, and I don't see, like, I'm pretty sure I've never heard anybody talk about it on BookTube before. That's probably not true. I mean, just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it's not happening, but I do definitely think the series deserves more recognition. It's a fairy, like urban fantasy. It's very inspired by the fairy world written in, or, you know, alluded to in Shakespeare. And our main character is named October, but they call her Toby for short. And when we meet her, she is like a private detective who is kind of recovering from some trauma that she went through. She was actually put under a curse by a like rival fairy person who like transformed her into a fish, and she stayed a fish for like decades, I think. Well, maybe it's just like 10 years. I think it's just 10 years. And she had a human family at the time, and because of that she got estranged from her family. But she was eventually rescued, and she's currently working as a private detective in the fairy world, and she gets involved in this case that kind of brings back all the trauma that happened to her and brings her back into all the drama, and it just like escalates from there. And it's wonderful. I love it. There's a wonderful little romance, and it's just so much fun. I could do a whole video talking about it, but I'll try to leave it at that. Okay, finally, we've made it. The last question is for lipstick, and the prompt is your favorite book kiss. So I really wasn't sure what to say for this because, you know, I've read a lot of stories, like romance stories, fantasy books, like just any normal book with kissing. And like nothing really like popped out to me. So I tried to think of like some of my favorite couples in fiction, and I remembered one of my very favorite couples from the Throne of Glass series. It's not the main couple. I don't know. I'm not gonna say who they are because it may be a bit of a spoiler, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody who is currently working through that series or hasn't read it or is interested in reading it. But there is a side couple that I really, really like. And I actually like them better than the main couple. I do like the main couple, but I like these guys a lot better. And they finally kiss. I think their first kiss is in the book Empire of Storms. So I'm actually not sure about that. It may be in a different book, but I'm going to say that for this video because I was too lazy to figure it out. But yes, Empire of Storms with my favorite couple. Actually, if you think you know, guess in the comments. We'll see if you can get it right. Yeah, sure, we'll go with it. So that was, what are you? I don't know if it has a shade number, but it's the lip gloss thing for, or maybe this is liquid lipstick actually, but it's by Storybooks Cosmetics and it was in their Jane Eyre palette. Oh, it's called I'm No Bird. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. I think we've finally done it. Oh, I need to do my lower lash line. That will complete the look. So let's see. McFly. Right? Isn't that... They just came back. I think that was McFly that I was thinking earlier. I knew it'd come back to me eventually. So now this is the finished look. Cue the music. Cue the montage. Probably not because I'm not talented enough of an editor. But yes, that was the Books and Makeup Tech. I hope this was at least entertaining, maybe educational. Maybe it was edutainment. Maybe you found a few books that you want to read from this. If you've read any of the books, I'd love to hear from you, what you think about them. This was fun for me. Will it be fun for you? I don't know. Hopefully I can salvage something somewhat watchable out of this footage. But let me know if you'd like to see more makeup looks. I'm especially, you know, inspired by like book covers and things like that. I think that could be really fun. Maybe doing a series where I do looks inspired by color palettes from different book covers, things like that. Just let me know. Thanks for watching. Bye.